Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 movie franchises that tried and failed to continue with a new lead.
No matter how old they are, no matter how big they are, they can't beat me here. They can't beat me at home.
For this list, we're looking at film series that stalled or completely stopped after bringing in a new major character. While we won't look at any reboots or recast characters, we will include franchises that have bounced back from sequel setbacks and found a way to continue again. Which film franchise should never have abandoned their original lead? Let us know in the comments. Hey Mojoholics! For a chance to win cash prizes, play our live daily trivia challenges every day at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern only at WatchMojo.com/play. Number 20, the Fast and Furious franchise.
If I needed a 30-second lesson on how to drift.
All right, look, man, there's lots of ways you can do this, all right?
Back when both Vin Diesel and Paul Walker had stepped away from the series, Lucas Black's Sean tried to rev up interest in the car films by starring in Tokyo Drift. At the time, fans and critics did not like the idea of the new high school protagonist taking the wheel. It earned a 3% Rotten Tomatoes score and still stands as the lowest grossing film in the franchise. After its initial critical and commercial flop, Vin Diesel was brought back to get the series on track. Despite its infamy, Tokyo Drift has been reevaluated as one of the franchise's more ambitious and unique entries. Both its characters and plot were fully welcomed back into the family after the series became box office gold again.
It's a long story. But for now, let's just enjoy the moment, huh?
Number 19, the Teen Wolf franchise.
You broke my heart, 'cause I couldn't dance. You didn't even walk me around.
A story where teenager Scott Howard transforms into a werewolf to help his basketball team thrive made for a silly and successful film. Unfortunately for the studio, they couldn't get Michael J. Fox to help expand this campy universe. Instead, Jason Bateman took over in a new tale where he was a werewolf boxer in college. His status as the cousin of the original lead could not protect the movie from a ton of criticism. It carried an extremely similar plot where the protagonist learns not to use their werewolf abilities for selfish sports gain. And outside of being a total retread, the talented Bateman still fell short of Fox's performance. Fans howled for this franchise to go on hibernation after this lazy sequel.
Yeah, I actually have to get to practice. Team's nothing without the wolf.
You can't face life as a wolf and expect it to solve all your problems.
Number 18, the TRON franchise.
Who are you? Dad.
Starring Jeff Bridges as the resourceful protagonist, Kevin Flynn's journey into a strange and stunning digital world in the first TRON became a sci-fi cult classic. Unfortunately, its sequel could not rise above its predecessor. TRON Legacy followed Sam Flynn's quest to find and reconnect with his lost father in an unfamiliar place. While Garrett Hedlund does a solid job as a fish-out-of-water lead, he didn't have the same magnetism as Kevin Flynn.
How you been, Sam?
Oh, you know, when I was 12, I really appreciated the surrogate father thing, but come on, Alan. I got it all under control now.
Oh, clearly.
It doesn't help that Jeff Bridges both reprises his role and plays the film's villain. After getting middling reviews, Disney surprisingly considered giving Sam Flynn another shot. But the studio eventually decided to pivot and work on developing a new film with Jared Leto as the lead.
But I think a bunch of guys like us should team up. Could do some good.
Intriguing.
Number 17, the Blair Witch franchise.
And remember, fear is the forerunner of failure.
Just over 1 year after this found footage film scared up massive box office returns, studio executives tried to strike gold again with Blair Witch Book of Shadows. But they should have waited a bit longer. Since the main trio from the first film couldn't return without some serious writing gymnastics, a new group is introduced to the world. The sequel tried to serve as both a meta-commentary of the first film's success and its own horror tale. However, the group at the forefront wasn't as entertaining as the characters that kicked things off. Their horrific adventures also strayed away from the found footage format of the cult classic. The box office failure of the 2016 sequel further proved the franchise was cursed without its first leads.
That's my sister!
I don't know what happened to your sister, James, but that's not her. That can't be her.
Number 16, the Blues Brothers franchise.
Well, it's like this, see. I used to be in a band.
Yes.
Called the Blues Brothers.
So?
In the 80s, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi made audiences fall in love with the titular duo in a broad and thrilling comedy. It seemed like the franchise would be retired after the tragic loss of Belushi. However, a sequel arrived in 1998, with actors like John Goodman and J. Evan Bonifant serving as new co-leads. Despite their best attempts and good efforts from other cast members, no one had chemistry with Aykroyd like the late Belushi did. It also didn't help that the film's plot of reuniting the band had already been done to perfection in the previous movie. Without Jake Blues, something sounded off throughout the sequel to the musical hit.
The Lord does work in mysterious ways, Elwood.
Yep.
Number 15, the Space Jam franchise.
Listen, guys, I'm a ball player. You know, and athletes acting, that never goes well. I'm sorry, guys.
After over 2 decades of rumors about another entry in the series, LeBron James laced up his sneakers to star in this Looney Tunes sports adventure. Whether his acting performance was miles ahead of Michael Jordan's or worse is up for each viewer to decide. But the undeniable fact is that the King James movie is worse than its predecessor. Although Space Jam Legacy tries to tell a touching father and son story, it relies far too heavily on nostalgia and character cameos.
Babe, what is going on? Where's Dom?
I don't know, but I have to go play this game to save everyone with.
Bugs Bunny?
What's up, Doc?
That's kind of normal around here.
And while Jordan played it safe by playing the straight man, James tries and fails to make a lot of jokes work on his own. There's no denying that this basketball king rules on the court, but he was out of his element in this follow-up basketball comedy.
You're a bad dad.
I'm a bad dad. I've been trying to save my son and coach y'all at the same time. What y'all doing?
We've been trying.
Trying to do what?
Number 14, the American Psycho franchise.
Yep, I just killed Brian. But you gotta look at the positive side. I'm killing for a better tomorrow.
American Psycho 2 opens with a girl named Rachel Newman slaying the original protagonist Patrick Bateman. That scene, coincidentally, serves as the perfect metaphor for how the follow-up is seen in comparison to the original. During the sequel, they depict Rachel's evolution into a cold-blooded criminal. Although the first movie made you question if Bateman committed any violent acts, the sequel throws nuance out the window and confirms that she is on a bloody spree. Mila Kunis later made it clear that she disliked her role as Rachel and hoped the studio wouldn't make a third film. Fortunately for her and audiences everywhere, the franchise seems to be dead as of 2023.
This is unacceptable.
Oh, it is.
Number 13, the Spy Kids franchise.
Can we be candidates for the new Spy Kids program?
Time will tell. Sorry guys, gotta go. OSS has us working around the clock.
The duo of Carmen and Junie Cortez was so iconic because the siblings completed top-secret missions while butting heads. When they were replaced by Rebecca and Cecil Wilson, the new brother and sister characters lacked that confrontational dynamic. Their relatively easygoing relationship was too generic to get invested in. While the writing of the movie was also lackluster, it became clear what had gone wrong once Junie and Carmen reunited in the story. They became so much fun to watch together that we nearly forgot that they weren't the leads anymore. If the franchise had been allowed to grow with that duo, the fourth movie might not have been so poorly received.
Me and my brother Junie. We were the first and last of the Spy Kids program.
Where is he?
We shall not speak of him. Let's go.
Number 12, the Grease franchise.
He wears a pair of goggles like a man from outer space.
Oh, shut up.
It really doesn't matter that I haven't seen his face.
It's hard to imagine that the first entry in this musical franchise would have worked without Danny Zuko and Sandy Olsen serving as the romantic leads. Audiences got a taste of what that would have looked like in the poorly received Grease 2. While Sandy was a girl next door who fell in love with rough-around-the-edges Danny, the sequel swaps the roles. This time around, Stephanie is the tough and cool lead who falls for the squeaky clean Michael. Their new relationship dynamics still failed to feel fresh or as electric as the original couple. Additionally, their songs are not as memorable as the ones from the first installment. The Grease franchise didn't get any Hollywood follow-ups for over 40 years after this disappointing sequel.
Like birds of a feather, forever and ever.
Number 11, the Scary Movie franchise.
The
Look at that form, that technique. He'll never be that good.
While the quality of the first 4 films in this series varied, Regina Hall and Anna Faris were the shining constants in each of those parody movies. The creatives behind Scary Movie 5 thought the talents of Ashley Tisdale and Erica Ashe could fill the void the original duo left. However, these new actresses lacked the strong connection and chemistry that their previous stars had. Although Faris and Hall probably would have had a hard job making most of the jokes in Scary Movie 5 work, they might have been able to elevate the material. Their absence and a rough screenplay combined earned the film a 4% on Rotten Tomatoes. Its miserable reception is likely the final knife in the heart of the franchise.
It's just us until Uncle Dan comes back from the hospital. I don't like it, you don't like it, I don't like it. Now go to sleep.
Number 10, the Jaws franchise.
I don't want anyone in my family anywhere near the water. Never again. Never.
There is no denying that audiences showed up to the original movie and its sequels to see a giant shark torment humans. But the franchise started sinking quickly when Martin Brody stopped being the main protagonist. In Jaws 3D, his sons try to get us invested in a battle against an angry shark. Although the 4th film is all about the shark getting revenge against the Brody family, Martin dies before the story begins. Both sequels felt like they were just trying to distract from the fact that their biggest human character wasn't around. Despite trying to incorporate new gimmicks and big stars, not a single Jaws sequel came close to the original success.
Bloody hell. Get us started double time. The breath on that thing.
You are alive.
Oh, let's get out of here, Alan Brody.
Number 9, the Transporter franchise.
You're gonna make me late.
Ed Skrein is by no means a household name, but between his stint as the first Dario Naharis on Game of Thrones and his breakout role as the delightfully villainous Ajax in Deadpool, he has established himself as an undeniably recognizable face. Unfortunately, he was handed the mantle of Frank Martin, also known as the Transporter, before he did Deadpool. And as you can imagine, fans didn't take too kindly to seeing a relative unknown stepping in for Jason Statham, one of the hardest working action stars of the new millennium.
Okay, Dad.
It was already an uphill battle, but working with the lackluster material he was given, Skrein had little hope of winning over the skeptical fans.
I'm sure you're very nice. You'd be nicer if you left me alone.
Number 8, the XXX franchise.
God bless America.
Hey, remember when Vin Diesel seemingly wasn't into sequels? Talk about a distant memory. Diesel's tendency to step away from them early in his career led to the spy thriller XXX being left without a lead. Apparently, Diesel didn't like the sequel script when he saw it, and if it bore any resemblance to the finished film, we can't really blame him. Ice Cube was brought in to carry the franchise as his replacement, Darius Stone, only for the film to sink like a rock.
Wars come and go, but my soldiers stay eternal.
The first XXX was absurd, but it had a reckless charm to it. This box office bomb did not. Thankfully, Xander eventually returned.
You want it? Come and get it.
Number 7, the Home Alone franchise.
But you can't hide, Junior.
Surprise.
While the second New York-based film in the series wasn't bad by any means, it still felt like the concept was being stretched to its breaking point despite Macaulay Culkin's strong performance. How did the studio attempt to move forward? New star, new villains, not even a tenuous familial relation or tangential connection to the original 2 films. We get that Macaulay Culkin wasn't interested, but you don't just release an unconnected retread and call it the 3rd film. Young Alex D. Linz does a fine job in the role of Alex Pruitt, and the film performed reasonably well at the box office. But it remains a sore spot with Home Alone fans around the world for obvious reasons. In the years following its debut, the franchise hasn't had much luck trying to reignite interest with any new films.
Well, it was worth a try.
Number 6, the Karate Kid franchise.
Congratulations? That's all you're gonna say is congratulations? Don't I get a belt or something?
No, we're not talking about the Jaden Smith remake, which was actually a decent if underwhelming reboot, and a slightly confusing one since the kid in question was learning kung fu, not karate, but we digress. The lead swap we really want to talk about is when Hilary Swank's Julie Pierce became Mr. Miyagi's next pupil. Yeah, you heard that right.
I wish I had your courage.
Wish I had chocolate bar with almond.
This 4th installment in the beloved Karate Kid franchise saw Hilary Swank don the mantle of the titular kid, and it was so bad that even the most nostalgic film lovers have largely wiped it from memory. In Swank's defense, she was considered the one good thing in an otherwise cringeworthy film.
Yes!
Number 5, the Predator franchise.
Welcome to the war.
When the first Predator film came out, it was greeted with mixed reviews. But cinema goers, Arnie fans, and action junkies loved it. And in addition to performing well at the box office, it quickly developed a legacy as a landmark sci-fi action film. They've been trying to recapture that magic with new leads and incredibly mixed results ever since. But it's the immediate sequel starring Danny Glover that stands out as the most obvious lead actor swap out.
Look, I don't care how big this is or who's involved. This guy killed Danny, and he's gonna fall.
In all fairness to Glover, he's the only thing holding this film together. But Schwarzenegger's shoes are not easy to fill. It also suffered from the loss of Arnold's memorable muscular supporting characters, although Bill Paxton does his best.
No autographs, Pop.
Number 4, the Speed franchise.
God, I've been in worse situations than this, and panicking does not help, trust me.
This is among the most notorious action sequels in history. If things had played out differently though, it's not hard to imagine a world in which a great Speed trilogy exists. Instead, we've got an awesome first installment and an awful second one. Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock stole our hearts in the original epic action thriller. It was a tense, edge-of-your-seat ride with refreshingly relatable characters you cared about. A hit at the box office and with critics, a sequel was inevitable. But when Reeves refused, things fell apart. Jason Patric felt like a generic replacement, which, coupled with the film's absurd plot, all but guaranteed that the film was doomed.
Abandoned ship for this?
Number 3, the Independence Day franchise.
Welcome to Earth.
If Will Smith had been given a decent shot to return for the sequel to Independence Day, it likely would have succeeded based on his star power alone. Independence Day worked thanks to a careful balancing act involving an over-the-top disaster plot and memorable, likable characters. And without Will Smith in the equation, the long-awaited sequel just kind of fell apart.
Captain Hiller, considering he died during a test flight, how do you feel taking off for the moon from a hangar named after your father?
The whole your beloved hero died off screen thing always makes for a rough start to a sequel. Unfortunately, the combined efforts of Liam Hemsworth and Jesse T. Usher, even with a lot of help from Jeff Goldblum, simply wasn't enough. The concept was there, the explosions too, but the star power and feel-good quality were not.
How the hell did we miss this?
Number 2, the Terminator franchise.
I'll be back.
We've said it before, there's just no replacing Arnold Schwarzenegger. Additionally, Linda Hamilton's dynamic performance kept us rooting for her to beat the machines. But after Schwarzenegger returned for the third film, both he and Hamilton sat out the fourth.
I'm unable to comply.
Terminator Salvation strays so far from its franchise roots that it almost doesn't feel like a true sequel. After spending 3 movies trying to prevent the Skynet machine takeover, the new film shows us what happens when tech wins through the eyes of Marcus Wright. While franchise mainstay John Connor still played a large part, splitting the narrative didn't work. This failed experiment led to 2 more films that audiences loathed. There's a decent chance that this franchise has been terminated.
I'm gonna ask you one more time. The hell was that thing?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, the Mask franchise.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. You feel like having a touch. I wanna hold you so much.
Although The Mask turns its user into a chaotic and obnoxious magical being, Jim Carrey was so funny that we still chuckled at his antics. But not too many people were laughing when Jamie Kennedy put on the wicked item. He played an extremely immature and annoying animator named Tim. Although we're supposed to sympathize with him, the character's lack of any redeeming qualities makes it impossible to get behind the new lead. Unfortunately, the power of the mask isn't enough to make him funny or entertaining. The fact that Tim is more annoying without the powerful magic item amplifying his personality was a huge red flag. We're not surprised that no one else has put on the mask since this disastrous sequel.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it. That was flat out embarrassing.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.